Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. I'm going to show you how I stripped back this piece of furniture and removed chalk paint. Chalk paint, although fun to put on, it's an absolute nightmare to get off, but I managed to do it pain-free-ish, and I'm going to show you how. Let's get into the video. Here's how I stripped this. Here's the before. While I love this piece, sadly it hasn't lasted the test of time. I don't know if you can see on camera, but there is water stains and bleed through on the front, and it has become more yellow toned over time. So I want to just strip it back and get it back to its bare bones. To strip the chalk paint off the wood, I'm going to be using a product called Bio-strip by the Autentico brand. Now, I have used this on satin paint and I didn't find it as good, but this is amazing for chalk paint. It kind of breaks it up and you can just lift it off, whereas if you try and remove chalk paint with like a sander, you're gonna clog it up really quickly and it's gonna be really dusty and messy. I was emptying out some of my drawers before applying because I thought this might be runny, but it's actually quite thick that you could stick it onto the piece of furniture when it is upright. So all I'm doing is applying one thick layer of this. Now this is like an eco kind of friendly product. I have got the windows open, but there's no harsh chemical smell. I'm using some gloves and it actually smells like marzipan. So I found it like to have a kind of, I'm like, it kind of smells like marzipan. It reminded me a little bit of Christmas. After 30 minutes, you can scrape it off. Now I am going to be using, you'll notice I'm using a metal scraper. A plastic one would be much better because I had to be really careful not to scrape the wood underneath. So if a plastic scraper would be more ideal. For the areas that was harder to remove, I just reapplied some of the Bio-strip and I left it for another half an hour. So the areas that were difficult was the areas I had the decoupage, and that's just because I had used a decoupage glue and a varnish, so they just needed an extra coat. But overall this took me about 2 hours to strip completely and wash, so it is easy to get off, but you do have to put in a little bit of elbow grease. I was able to remove the last of the paint by simply just using a wire spongy brush, one that you would kind of use on the dishes, and I'm just using warm soapy water. I did have to change the water often so I could have clean water. If it was a nice sunny day, you could probably bring this out to the garden and give it a little hose down, but I was just scrubbing the remainder of the paint off and it did come off pretty handy. Here's the piece of furniture after it has been cleaned, and you can see that there's spots of varnish still left on the piece. So I'm going to sand this piece to get the wood nice and even and give it a nice finish. I just wanted to show you how to get the chalk paint off a piece. Now this piece deserves a lovely restoration, but in this video I'm just showing you how to get the chalk paint off, and I also just got it to a tone that I wanted, and then I applied some Danish oil just to kind of moisturize the wood. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with this piece, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of love, so I popped on 2 coats of Danish oil. It does recommend that you do 3, and I'm simply just using a cloth to wipe it in. I let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then I use another clean cloth just to wipe off any excess. Now this piece of furniture, the wood was really dry, so it drank all of the oil that I gave it. So I did this twice, and it just evened out the tone, brought back the grain in the wood, and it just gave it like a nice finish for now. But again, like, this piece does need a bit more work. There's a few places where I have a tiny bit of paint left, but you know what, it's good for now. One of the things about chalk paint is when you go to like sand it, so like if you were to strip a piece of furniture that was satin or gloss, you could use like a heat gun, scrape it off and get it off handy enough. You can also use a stripper. I try and stay away from the really strong, stinky chemical strippers, but there's lots of like bio-strip and eco-friendly strippers now on the market, which is amazing. But I try and avoid using too much chalk paint on pieces of furniture because I just find it harder to remove. And if you see a piece of furniture in like maybe a secondhand shop that has been painted, but you're like, oh no, I really want that piece of furniture, I'm sure there's lovely wood underneath, but there's layers of chalk paint, then I hope you can use one of the kind of eco strippers to try and get it off and bring the wood back. Now there's still a lot of work that needs to be kind of done to this piece. I just popped on some Danish oil just to kind of moisturize the wood, just to kind of see what was underneath. So it's still looking a bit rustic, but I have it here for the minute because it's the same tone of wood in my bedroom to the sewing machine. So I popped in a little clip of the sewing machine because they're a similar tone of wood. I don't know if they're the same type of wood, but they're similar tones, so they kind of match each other in the bedroom. And I also like how a bit of, without sounding too rude, I like how a bit of wood in the bedroom is looking, you know? Anything I say about wood in bedrooms is gonna sound rude, isn't it? No rude intentions meant, but it's nice to see a bit of wood in my bedroom. Leave a little wood emoji in the comment section if you have a dirty mind too. So another reason why I actually stripped the chalk paint as well, any of the pieces of furniture in my house that I used chalk paint on years ago, I found that they have discolored over time, or I've had like issues with like bleed through, and I've used different brands of chalk paint, which is one of the reasons why you'll notice when I do a furniture makeover video I use like primer satin finish or an eggshell finish on a piece of furniture, because I don't have issues with them over time. I just found the chalk paint I was getting like slight bleed throughs, discoloration, water stains, even though it had been like sealed. So I just didn't like the longevity of the paint, but I still think it's good for smaller projects. Like you can paint like glass vases with it, like the adhesion is good, but the long term when it comes to like big pieces of furniture, it's a no from me when it comes to recommending it for long-term projects. So let me know, it's gonna sound rude, are you a wood kind of girl or are you like a paint kind of girl? I am liking both. I'm like 70% painted pieces of furniture in my house, but I'm liking this extra like 30% of wood. I feel like it tones down the femininity in my house. If you've seen my other videos, it's quite pink, it's teacuppy, it's floral, and I just feel like the bit of wood kind of balances it out. Anyway, enough of the wood puns, enough wood for today. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and also I have put on my Instagram a highlight of home how-tos, and has all the links to how-to projects on my website. So like how to paint IKEA furniture, how to paint furniture, how to seal your bathtub. So on my Instagram there's a little highlight, and there is lots of like tabs for home how-to projects. So they're all on my website as well, but I'm trying to organise that so it's easier to kind of navigate. So just if you are looking for any kind of extra things, I have some on my Instagram and then on my website as well. Cheers everybody, I'm off to drink my tea before it gets cold, and I'm not going to talk about any more wood, and I'll see you all in next week's video. Bye.